Because he didn't put it on yet.
Oh.
All right, both sides. Here we go.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, now both sides. Here we go. Okay. All right, we are up to over here, right by the two dots, where it says Kama Yochal Min HaTevel. How much does a person eat from Tevel? Tevel, we already learned many times, is unmeistered or untrumed produce. So the question is, Kama Yochal Min HaTevel, how much does a person eat from Tevel in order to get Malchus? Let's go to the Mishnah and let's see what the Mishnah says about this particular thing. We're going to go right to the Mishnah. Okay, do you see the Mishnah or not?
No.
No, okay, good. We'll get it for you. Okay, 1 second. Here we go. Now we'll get it. Okay, we'll get it now. Here we go. All right, now you'll have the Mishnah right now. Here we go. Here's the Mishnah. Okay, you now see the Mishnah, and we're going to go down to where it says, how much does a person have to eat in order to be able to be chayiv? It starts over here with the word kama. You see the word kama?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Kama yochal min hatevel. This is, we're in a Mishnah in which the Mishnah is talking about Elu hein alokin. The following are the people who get malchus, and we said if a person, the line above that says ochal tevel umeister rishon, and so on and so forth, you get malchus. So the Mishnah itself asks the question, Kama yochal min hatevel, how much does a person have to eat from this untrumed or unmeistered produce? Chayiv, and he's going to be chayiv malchus, because this Mishnah is talking about elu hein halokin. These are the people that get malchus. So how much would a person have to eat in order to get malchus, to eat from tevel? So Rabbi Shimon Omer, Rabbi Shimon says, kol shehu. The word kol shehu means the smallest, tiniest amount. A kol shehu, a little nothing. If you eat a little nothing of tevel, right away you're going to be chayiv malchus. The chachamim omrim, the chachamim say kezayis. In order to be chayiv, you're going to have to eat an entire kezayis, an olive's worth. By the way, do you know how we measure an olive's worth? How do you measure an olive's worth of tevel? So you have to know. The way we do it is this. You take a glass cup, you fill it with water, then you take an olive and you slowly drop it into the water. The water that's displaced, because when you fill it to the very top, you put the cup in a big bowl and you fill it to the top with water and you put a little olive in, or you put an average size olive in, and the olive will go into the water will be displaced, some water will come out. You take that amount of water and you mix it with flour to the point where it becomes dough. Now that's not going to be a big piece of dough. It's going to be a piece of dough equal to, let's say, a slice of bread or so. That's a kazayas. That's what's a kazayas. Kizayas, it's like an olive. Means it displaced enough water that when mixed with flour is going to make a size of a gazayis. Back to the Mishnah. So we have a machlokas between Rabbi Shimon and the Chachamim. Rabbi Shimon says a kol shehu. The Chachamim says a kazayis. Omar lehen Rabbi Shimon. And all this is necessary in order to understand the piece of Gemorah. Omar lo lehen Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon says to the Chachamim, I'atem modim, do you not admit to me? I'atem modimli, do you not admit to me? Ba'ochel nemola, kol shehu. If a person eats an ant, even if it's a tiny little ant, shehu chayiv, that he's going to be chayiv malchus, don't you admit that if you eat a tiny little ant, you're going to be chayiv malchus? Now, is a little tiny ant a kazayas?
No.
Absolutely not. And yet he's
But
chayiv.
it's a whole. It's a
A
whole.
jabia.
Right. Amrulo. So the Chachamim said to Rabbi Shimon, Nay, shehi kibri yasa, because that is a beriya. That's the way Hashem created it. It's an entire beriya. Amar lehen. So Rabbi Shimon said to the Chachamim, Nunu, af chita achas. So a single piece of wheat, kibriyasa, is also the way Hashem created it. There's no difference. It's the exact same thing. Okay, we now have the machlokas between Rabbi Shimon and the Chachamim. Rabbi Shimon says kol shehu, the Chachamim say kazayis. Said Rabbi Shimon, don't you admit that if you eat a little ant, which is not a kazayis, you're going to be chayiv? And they said yes, but that's because it's kibriyasa. So Rabbi Shimon answers back, af chita achas kibriyasa. So one chita is also kibriyasa. And now we have to get the daf that we're going to. And here we're going to go to the daf that we're going to, and here it comes. Okay, so we're going to get a new share, and we're going to get that daf right now up there, and we're going to go to our daf, and here it is. Okay, now we're by our daf. You see it all now over here.
Yeah.
Kama yochal min atevel. How much would a person have to eat from tevel in order to be chayav to get malchus? Okay, and we know, review, quick, very quick. Rabbi Shimon says, if you eat how much?
Kol shehu.
And the Chachamim say you have to eat?
Kazayas.
Kazayas. Okay. Hesh, you're speaking for everybody, right?
Yeah.
I'm speaking to everybody, whoever wants to listen to me, it's okay.
Okay, good. Hesh is giving the Shiur next week. Here we go.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
now, the Gemorah says, here we go. Omar Rav Bibi, Omar Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. Rav Bibi says in the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. Now you have to know that this is not the Rabbi Shimon that we're talking about in the Mishnah. The Rabbi Shimon we're talking about in the Mishnah is a Tana, Rabbi Shimon. What was his full name?
Shimon Yochai?
Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, excellent.
Oh.
Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. Mordechai just answered the $64,000 question.
Mordechai, you'll give this share next week.
It's $64 million today, right? So Omar Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. Rabbi comes and says along in the name of Reish Lakish, who was an Amora, to explain the Tana and machlokas between the Tana Rabbi Shimon of Kol Shehu and the Chachamim who say a Kazayas. Machlokas bechita. Rabbi Shimon says, if you eat a Kol Shehu, you're going to be chayiv malchus. If you eat a chita, and chita means one wheat stalk. Now, on a wheat stalk, by the way, you don't eat the whole wheat stalk. How much do you eat of the wheat stalk? The wheat, the kernel of wheat.
The kernel.
The kernel, right. And we're not talking about Southern Fried Chicken here.
Yeah, go.
That's with a K-E-R. Right. Good. Right. The kernel, right, K-E-R. Right. So he says, machlokas bechita. The machlokas is with one kernel of wheat. That's where Rabbi Shimon says kol shehu, and that's where the Chachamim say, even with one kernel of wheat, it's got to be big enough to be a gazayas. Avol bekemach, but when it comes not to the kernel of wheat, but to the flour that is made from wheat, what you do with the kernel of wheat is you crush it, you grind it, and after you grind it, and you take all the wheat kernels and grind them together, you get a gold medal 5-pound bag of flour. So he said, Aval bekemach, Rabbi, in the name of the Shlokish, is saying, when it comes to flour, divrei hakol, even Rabbi Shimon will agree that it's going to be only a kazayas. In other words, Rabbi Shimon's machlokas, according to Rabbi in the name of Rabbi Shimon Lakish and the Chachamim, the only machlokas between Rabbi Shimon and the Chachamim is when you're eating the kernel itself. That's where there's a machlokas. Because according to Rabbi Shimon, a small kernel is automatically chayiv. Well, according to Chachamim, you still need a kazayas. While when it comes to a chita, when it comes to kemach, when it comes to flour, even though Rabbi Shimon says, somebody's coming in, I got to admit him, hold on. Even though even though it only says Bekemach by flour, even though Rabbi Shimon says by flour you only need, even though by wheat you only need a kernel, by flour he says you need a kazayas. Divrei hakol kazayas. Everybody agrees you need a kazayas. There's no machlokas. There's no machlokas. That's according to Rabbi Bibi. However, Rabbi Yirmiyah Amar, Rabbi Yirmiyah comes along and he says, Rabbi Yirmiyah Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Rabbi Yirmiyah in the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish says, Kemachlokas bezu, the same machlokas that applies to a kernel of wheat. You hear this? The same machlokas that applies to a kernel of wheat, right? Kach machlokas bezu. It's the same machlokas that applies to flour. So according to Rabbi Yirmiyah, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish says, Rabbi Shimon in the Mishnah says that even by flour, all you're going to need is a kol shehu. According to Rav Bibi in the name of Reish Lakish, there's no machlokas in flour, but everybody agrees you need a kazayis, Rabbi Shimon. But according to Rabbi Yirmiyah in the name of Reish Lakish, he says that the machlokas is not only by a kernel of wheat that Rabbi Shimon says a kol shehu and the Chachamim say a kazayis, but even by flour there's still a machlokas, and Rabbi Shimon says a kol shehu of flour is enough to get your malchus, while the Chachamim say you need to have a kazayis. Okay, we now know there's a machlokas in the Gemorah between Rav Bibi in the name of Reish Lakish, on the one hand, who says there's only a machlokas by a chita, but not by a kemach, and Rabbi Yirmiyah, who says in the name of Reish Lakish that the machlokas even goes by flour. Tanan, the Gemara says, wait a minute. Tanan, we learned in our Mishnah, and we showed you the Mishnah before, where Amar lehem Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon said to the Chachamim, remember, Rabosai, once again, Rabbi Shimon says, you're chayiv just on a kol shehu. The Chachamim say, you got to eat a kazayis. Amar lehem Rabbi Shimon said to the Chachamim, Iyatem modim, do you not admit to me, but ochel nemala, if a person eats just a little ant, kol shehu, even if it's a tiny little ant, shehu chayiv, that he's going to be chayiv malchus for eating that little tiny ant, even though it's not a kazayis. Don't you admit that? And so you have to admit that kol shehu is the measurement. Amrulo, so the Chachamim said to him, no, Rabbi Shimon, that's mipnei shehi kibriyasa, because that's the way it's created. It's a barrier. That's the way it is. Amar lahen, so Rabbi Shimon says to the Chachamim, af chita, even by the wheat kernel, achas, that's only one wheat kernel, kibriyasa. Even by the wheat kernel, it's only a creation, and therefore, since it's a creation, you should be a kol shehu, right? Right. Now the Gemara now goes one step further. We now can make a deduction. Since Rabbi Shimon came along and said, af chita achas kibriyasa, that implied chita in. I only apply the concept of bria to chita, kemach lo, but kemach is not kibri yasa, right? Kemach is not kibri yasa, right? So since kemach is not kibri yasa, right? Therefore, since kemach is not kibri yasa, it can't apply that we're talking about only a kol shehu. Answers the Gemara lo. Don't ask a question against Rabbi Shimon from that idea. because you should know that Rabbi Shimon wasn't saying that by Kemach, you actually need a Kazayas. He also said by Kemach, all you need is a Kol Shehu. But L'divrayim ka'amar lehu. Rabbi Shimon was talking, according to you, your language, according to you language, that your language is, according to your language, that you said you only need a Kazayas, you need a Kazayas, this is what he said. L'divrayim ka'amar lehu. Rabbi Shimon is talking about what the Chachamim say. Lididi, according to me, afilu kemach nami. Even by kemach also, what do you need? Nami also. By kemach also you need what? A kazai, a kol shehu, right? Lididi, according to me, Rabbi Shimon, afilu kemach nami. Even by kemach also, all you need is a kol shehu. Elo l'didchu. But according to you, Chachamim, Oduli mihas, do you not at least, nevertheless, admit to me, dechita achas kibriyasa? Okay, I understand that according to you, Kemach needs a kazayas. I don't agree with you. I hold that even Kemach doesn't need a kazayas. But I'll grant you that according to you, Kemach needs a kazayas. But when it comes to a chita, don't you, even you have to agree that a chita achas, one kernel of wheat, is kibriyosa, the same like the namala? Don't you at least admit that to me? Right?
Mm-hmm.
But Rabbanan say, no, I don't admit that to you. I don't admit that to you. You know why? I'll tell you why. Brias neshama chashuva.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
neshama chashuva.
Mm.
A creation of an ant is a neshama. And therefore, by an ant, A-N-T, by an ant, the Brias neshama makes it chashuv.
Right.
And since it's chashuv, even though it's less than a kazayas,
It's
we
a
will admit that even if it's a kol shehu, you're going to be chayiv.
right, go ahead, Sherma.
Chita lo chashuva, but a kernel of wheat is not so chashuv. Why is a kernel of wheat not chashuv?
No neshama.
Because no neshama. It's got no neshama. Now, this is a very famous question, of course. You know, what happened there? Big mistake. Something went wrong. We got to get rid of this guy. Who put you in here? Get out of here. Let's get out of here. What happened there? Hold on. Let's get back to oh my goodness.
H. You have H.com?
How did Ace.com get in there?
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. Okay.
I see Tom Brady.
We'll get rid of it.
Okay.
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 Wow, that was
You're back. Okay.
I don't know how that happened.
It's okay.
But all right.
They want to join us, that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom Brady.
That was amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So, whoa. My goodness. We do get some interesting currencies.
Yes.
Okay. Whoop.
Oh boy, we're getting everybody today.
Hold on. We're gonna go ahead a little bit. Okay.
Wait, you have the Gemorah.
I know. I'm gonna get back to it. It'll take a minute.
Okay.
Take a minute. There we go. Okay. Unbelievable. Okay, here it is. Okay. So he says, Rabbanan, Brias neshama chashuva, chita lo chashuva. But chita is not considered that important because it's not a Brias neshama. And now the Gemara comes along and says, Tanya Kavasi de Rabbi Yirmiyah, we have a brisa that backs up the way Rabbi Yirmiyah understands the machlokas. Remember, we had two people who explained the machlokas. We had Rabbi Bibi Amar Rabbi Shimon over here, right? Who said that the machlokas is only by a wheat kernel, but not by kemach, where even Rabbi Shimon agrees it's a kazayas. And Rabbi Yirmiyah, in the name of Rabbi Shimon Lakas, that said The machlokas is in both places. So now we're going to back up Rebbe Yirmiyah, Tanya Kavasa de Rebbe Yirmiyah. We have a brisa that backs up Rebbe Yirmiyah that the machlokas is not only by a wheat kernel, but even by kemach, because the brisa says, Rebbe Shimon Omer, Rebbe Shimon says, Kol shehu lemakos. The measurement of kol shehu is only to give a person makos. So all you need is a kol shehu to give makos. And that's what our Mishnah said, that if you eat a kol shehu, you get malchus. And that means Rabbi Shimon holds even by everything else. Also, you only need a kol shehu l'malchus, lo amru kazayis. We only said the measurement of a kazayis, ela le'inyan carbon, only in reference to bringing a carbon. We're going to have to explain this, but we'll wait to explain it while we go to the Rashi, and Rashi will help us. So let's go to the Rashi. Here we go. Okay. We're going to go to the Rashi over here where it says machlokes bechita. You see it? The arrow is pointing to it. Machlokes bechita. The machlokes between Rabbi Shimon and the Chachamim is with a kernel of wheat. Shehi bekibriyasa, because that is the way it's created. And Rabbi Yirmiyah says kach machlokes bezu, that the machlokes is by flour too. Because savar Rabbi Shimon, because Rabbi Shimon holds bechol ha'isurim, in all isurim in the Torah, kol shehu lemakos. I don't care what isur you've got. If you eat a kol shehu, you're going to be chayev malchus. Whenever some food is forbidden to be eaten, whatever food that is, even on Yom Kippur, any food that's forbidden, if you have a kol shehu, according to Rabbi Shimon, you're going to be chayev malchus. The lo omru kazayis, the only time kazayis is mentioned in the Torah, ela inyan carbon, only in reference to bringing a carbon. What's that?
You be chayiv misa, right? You be chayiv misa.
Al shigagas kares.
Yom Kippur.
If somebody eats chalev, if someone eats nosar, if someone eats something that they're forbidden to eat under penalty of kares and the shogeg, they then eat that measurement, then they have to bring a carbon, and that is taught v'halacha l'Moshe misinahi. That distinction, according to Rabbi Shimon, is learned halacha l'Moshe.
Meaning the gazayis, right?
Meaning that you're going to be chayiv malchus for a kol shehu, even the smallest amount,
right?
Even though you're not chayiv kares, even if you ate it intentionally.
Okay.
But if you ate the smallest amount, you're going to be chayiv malchus. And if you ate a kazayis, but you ate it b'shogeg,
being carbon.
Because if you ate it b'mezid, you would be chayiv kares. Then if you eat it b'shogeg, you're going to be chayiv a carbon. Rabosai, throughout the Torah, if someone eats something or does something for which they're chayiv kares, when they do it on purpose, then if they do it b'shogeg, they're going to be chayiv a carbon chatos.
Right.
You got it?
Yep.
Okay, so we finished up the Gemorah, and Tosfos comes along and he has a question. Let's learn the Tosfos. Should I make it a little larger? We could do that to make it a little bit. Help you read it? We can do that. We really got to do that this time. Okay, let's see if we can make it larger. Hey, look at that. It worked. Oops. Just lost it. Let's see if we can now move it down a little bit so that it's clear the whole thing. Okay. Here we go. We got the whole Tosfos there. Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. This is an easy Tosfos. That's not easy. Okay. We just said, V'Rabbanan B'riyas Neshama Chashuva Chita Lo Chashuva. Right? Do you remember in the Gemorah we said that Rabbi Shimon said, if an amala is less than a kazayas and you're chayiv, and you admit that, so why not buy a wheat? So what are the chachamim answer? Well, there's a difference between the
the ant and the wheat.
There's a difference between the ant and the wheat, because the ant, is a
neshama.
That's a neshama.
The ant is a bria of a neshama, right? While the wheat is not a neshama. Okay, the wheat is not a neshama. Okay. All right, let's see if we can get this back up here. There we go. Oops. 1 second. All right. Move it over a little bit. So I can get all right. Let's see if we can get everybody up. What's this? No. Okay. I guess that's the best we could do. Okay. All right. Doesn't matter. Here we go. Okay. That's the best we can do. They won't show me more. All right. Let's go. Let's go to the David, is there a way for me to get the screen to show all the people who are participating? Huh? I can't get that screen. I would like to get it, but I can't.
All the what? Which one?
I only have about 6 boxes. Can I get more?
6 boxes.
The
Participants.
image of 6 people. Yeah, well, I hit participants.
It should give you a list. If you click on them, there's 8 total.
I have 8
So
also.
I'm missing 4. I don't know why I'm missing. Well, let me hit participants. Maybe I can do that. Okay.
If you hit participants, that'll give you a list.
Yeah, give me a list, but doesn't show me, right?
No, you have to click on the view, whatever that, what's that called? The view. If you click on view and it should be a box that pops up with everybody and.
A view?
Let's see how to
Click participants.
No.
What do you want to get?
You want to see who's on, Rabbi?
Yeah, I want to see the whole view. I can't see it.
Oh,
No. I think because you have the screen on for the Gemorah, it's
Maybe.
taking away that
Maybe.
view.
Whatever. Okay. All right. I don't want to take time. I don't want to take time with this. I thought I would get everybody at once to be able to feel like I'm talking to everybody. All right, leave it alone. Okay, let's go back to the Tosfos. Here we go. Okay, so here we go. So now comes Tosfos along. Let's review. The Rabbanan say a Brias Neshama is important, right?
Right.
And therefore, because Brias Neshama is important, therefore, by an Amala, it's got to be even less than a Kazayas. While Chita lo Chashuva. Chita is not considered important because it's not a Bria, right?
Yeah.
Right? So Tosfos says, I have a wonder about this. The V'Perek Gid Anosha, if you go to Masechta Chulin, when it talks about the Gid Anosha. Now, the Gid Anosha is the sinew of the thigh vein, which Jews are not allowed to eat because of the war that Yaakov had with the Sar Shalesa. And it says after that battle, Al Kain Lo Yochlu B'nei Yisrael as Gid Anosha, the Jewish people can't eat the Gid Anosha. And the Gemara in Chulin has a discussion. Amrinan. It says over there in the Gemara in Chulin that shiny Gid the gid is different. If the gid hanosher gets mixed up in a pot with a bunch of other permissible gidin, let's say there are other pieces of meat. You have a piece of flanken, you have a pulka of a chicken, you have a leg of lamb, you got a brisket. And you have to have brisket in there, right? You got to be some with some brisket. You're Jewish. You have to have some brisket in there, right?
What about some flanken?
I said flanken was the first one, Maya.
Okay.
He said flanken. He said flanken.
You got me hungry already.
Believe me. So you got the minute steak and the flanken and the brisket. You know, you got it all there, and you got a piece of gid anosha. Now, when you have a gid, the gid is forbidden, right?
Yeah, but
all the others are permitted, right?
Wait, 60-1.
All the others are permitted, right? There are 5 other pieces of meat, right?
Right.
Right? Now, whenever you have something that's forbidden and something that's permitted, we always say it's batel berov.
Right.
It's batel in the majority. So,
but isn't the gid distinguishable from everything else? No?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a stew. So there's all pieces of meat.
Oh, you made a stew.
Maya, you're 100% on the ball. Great. So it's a stew.
Wait, it has juices?
Yeah, juice, yeah.
It has juice. Okay.
Juice, yeah, juice.
It was dry. Okay,
it's Jewish, so it's got juice.
Juice.
Okay. So what you do is, over there, Amrinon, the Gemorah says, shiny gid, even though you got a majority of other things, the gid, nevertheless, is not allowed to be eaten the barrier, because it's a barrier.
Right.
Barrier means it's a separate creation, the low bottle, and it's not going to be nullified in the majority. Asks Tosfos, this is a dead piece of gid, and it's not a full animal. It's only one part of the animal.
Yeah, the back end of it.
You can't say the gid has neshama.
Right,
it's dead.
It's dead, and it's not the whole animal. Look, what we learned when you on the previous Amud, we learned about a whole bunch of ants that are ground up, right?
Yeah.
You're not chayiv unless you have how much?
Gazayas.
Gazayas. Why didn't you say bury it over there?
Because they're all dead. It's not
because they were all chopped up. It's all dead.
There's no neshama.
Okay, there's no neshama. So but here in the Gemara in Chulin, it said the gid is different. It's not batel because the barrier. It's a barrier. But wait a minute, the gid is not a barrier. So why are you telling me it's a barrier if it doesn't have neshama? Over here, the Rabbanan said that by the ant, the reason the ant, even though it's less than a gazayas, is usher, because it's a briyas neshama and it's chashuv, right? But the chita is not chashuv because it doesn't have a neshama. Here we see even the gid, which doesn't have a neshama, is still considered chashuv. So it's not dependent on neshama. How can the Rabbanan over here come and say because the chita doesn't have neshama? The gid didn't have neshama either, and yet the gid was chashuv.
No, but the gid did one time had a neshama. I mean, one time it was
but
the gid never had the neshama. The whole animal had the neshama.
Oh, the gid itself never had a neshama. Okay,
the gid
it's only one piece of the animal.
The bone. Okay.
It's not a piece by itself.
Right.
Okay, it's a good kasha, no?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, you want to learn the answer?
Yes.
Okay. The yesh lomar, and we remember whenever we have tosas v'yim tomar.
Some say.
We always say. And there are those that say, and there is or there is to say, which means there's a possible answer. The hachika amar. Here is what it meant over there in Chulin when it said shiny gid. It meant shiny gid. The gid is different. The barrier because it is a barrier. Why is it a barrier? So you guys sort of answered it in a way when you said the kivan, the asya mi brias neshama.
It came from
comes from an animal that had neshama. Yeah. Shapir havya barya. Yeah. That's why it's called a barya. I could answer and say, the Gemorah in Chulin over there was playing around because after all the Gid, at one time it came from a barrier that had a neshama, right?
Right.
So therefore I could say it's like he has a neshama. However, Tosfos comes along and says velo nira. That does not appear to be correct. I'm giving you an answer, but I'm not that happy about it. Why? And he brings a following raya. Look at this raya. The ha-nevela. Now, Rabbi say, we just learned the Pesachim every day in Daf Yomi, nevela.
Yeah.
What's a nevela? A nevela is a carcass that died without shechita.
Without
Right.
shechita.
Right.
Okay. The ha-nevela. Now you got a piece of nevela here, right?
Oh, it's tumah.
Yeah.
Right.
A piece of nevela. We'll talk about tumah later. We're talking about
Okay.
whether it's a berry or not. Let's stick to that.
Okay.
Nevela. We've got nevela, right? Deka'asi mi brias neshama. Nevela comes from something which is with a neshama when it was alive,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
The af al pikain, and nevertheless, lo havya berya. It's not considered a creation. A pizayis of nevela is not considered a barrier. For instance, let's say I would eat a mashahu of nevela. A mashahu of nevela.
Okay. So you're not chayiv.
I'm not chayiv.
Right.
But didn't it come
It came
from
from
a
the
live
jungle, right.
animal?
Right.
Right? So if it
Yeah.
came from a live animal, isn't it called a nevela?
Yeah, but
Right?
there's no neshama now.
Yeah, but the same thing by the Gid had no neshama. And what did you answer? Because it came
From
a live
Yeah.
animal. It's got a neshama, right?
Right. Right.
So why
right.
don't I say the same thing by nevela?
Yeah.
That's why I'm not happy about this, says Tosfos. You
Okay.
hear?
Yeah.
You hear the Kasha guys, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Lo nira. I don't think that this is good because the nevela, by a piece of nevela, the ka'asi bibrias neshama, it comes from something that was created. Vav al pikein lo avya barrier. It's not considered a barrier. If I eat less than a gazayis, I'm not going to be chayiv. So there's got to be some other logic, right? What's the logic? Ella al karchacha, you got to say that this is the issue. Atam talui. The reasoning is dependent. The word talui literally means hanging, right? But, we use it to also say it's hanging because it's dependent on. Atam talui is hanging on the following principle. It's talui in the following way. Dekol. Now try to get this twist in your head. Here it goes. Dekol she'oved shmo. Anything that loses its name. Kishenechtach. When it's chopped up. Have a barrier. That is considered a barrier when it's whole. The nicha, the nevela, and this is good when it comes to nevela, she'eino ovedes shma. Nevela never loses its name. Shelifa'amim, because at times it could happen, kishenechtecha, even when you chop up the nevela, korinosa nevela, it doesn't lose its name. It stays nevela. I give you a tiny little piece that's not a kazayas. And I say, you see this little stick nevela? I'm throwing it to the dog because it says la kelev tashlicha no so.
Yeah.
Right? But what did I call it?
Nevela.
I called it nevela, even though I don't have the whole behemoth in front of it. That's nevela, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to the Gid Anoshe, if I take a piece of the Gid Hanoshe, and I take a small piece of the Gid, and I say that I'm gonna give this piece of Gid, I'm gonna give this shtickle Gid to the guy, yeah?
Yeah.
Have I given him a Gid or a shtickle Gid?
I say Gid. You get him the Gid.
Yeah?
The name doesn't change.
If I give him a square, 1 inch square piece, a half-inch square piece of Gid, I give it to the guy, am I gonna say, hey, Joe, here's a Gid. He's gonna say, what are you talking about? Where's a Gid? You mean you're giving me a piece of Gid?
But it's still a Gid.
But it's not called a Gid, right?
No, it's called a shtickle Gid.
It's called a shtickle Gid, right?
Okay.
A shtickle Gid, right? So this is a very interesting idea that Tosfos is coming up with over here. He says the Tam Toli, the Kol She'oved Shmo, if it loses its name, Kishenechtach, when you chop it up, and the Maharal points this out, right? When you chop up the Gid, it's not a real Gid, it's only a piece of Gid. Have a Berya. Then the Gid is a Berya. Then and that's why we said by the Gid.
But it's still a Gid.
What?
It's still a Gid.
No, it's a piece of Gid.
It's a piece of Gid, but it's a Gid.
No, it's not a Gid. It's a piece of Gid.
You can eat it.
We went through that already.
It's not a whole Gid. It's not a Gid.
Yeah.
It's a piece of Gid.
I tried.
Doesn't work. Look, in other words,
You still can't eat it.
The name.
But how did it change its name?
Because it's no longer a full Gid.
But you chayiv, right?
Wait a minute.
Right.
You may be chayiv, but you're not chayiv for eating the Gid. You're chayiv for eating a kazayas of the Gid.
Right, okay.
Right? You understand?
Yeah.
Right? Now, if you eat a kazayas of nevela, you're not chayiv because you ate a shtickle nevela. You're chayiv because you ate nevela.
So
there's something missing in that logic.
Why does it change?
Oh, it's not,
What
okay.
What Tosfos is saying is, what the name nevela remains nevela.
Right.
A carcass is a carcass is a carcass. Whether it's a full one, a half a one, it's still a nevela. While a Gid, throughout Shas and throughout language, when we talk about it, it's not called the Gid. It's called a piece of the Gid. In other words, that's what Tosfos is saying. You have to pay close attention to the language, what he's saying here. He's saying it's totally, it's the Chol She'oved Shmo. Anything that loses its full name, Kishenechtach, when it's chopped up, have a barrier. That is considered a barrier. When you have all those ants that were chopped up before, is it called an ant?
No.
No, it's called a kazayas of ants, right?
Right.
Don't call it a barrier. The nicham in nevela, and it comes out good by a nevela, she'eno ovedes shema. It never loses its name.
That's a name, right.
Because even at other times, af kishenechtecha, even when the nevela is chopped up, korin osa nevela, we still call it by the name nevela. Ulakach, and therefore, lo have barrier. Therefore, the nevela is not considered a barrier. Aval gid, but a gid, oved shmo.
It's always a Gid.
Chop it up, it loses its name to become a shtickle nevela. A shtickle
Gid.
Yeah. Al yedei shenechtach, by the fact that it's cut up.
Does everybody agree with that, or that's just one svara?
Well,
because calling it a shtickle.
Okay. When Tosfos, whenever Tosfos comes along, and he tells us that the Yesh Lomar, I'm sure you can, like they say in Yiddish, "Mekenzech dingen." You can argue, but this is the clarity of the comparison between the Gemorah in Chulin and our piece of Gemorah, while in our piece of Gemara it doesn't. The gid is losing its name, and therefore it's not a barrier, right? And therefore it's a barrier.
It is a barrier.
And the nevela never loses its name, therefore it's not considered a barrier. And to get to our Gemara, when we talk about the kemach, so kemach, it's not called a wheat. It's called a wheat flour.
Oh, right.
Not called a kernel.
Right.
Not called.
That is right.
All right. There is a little bit more to that, Tosis, but it's not for tonight. We finished basically up till the Mishnah. I'll just mention one thing that the Ritva comes along and says. It's very interesting. We learned at the end of the Shiur here by the Gemorah that when it comes to a kol shehu, you get malchus, but a kazayas you get to bring a carbon if you eat a kazayas the shogeg. Why is that? Why is it if you eat a kol shehu you're gonna get malchus, while if you eat a kazayas then you're gonna be chayav a carbon? So the Ritva explains like this. When you eat a kol shehu of something which is forbidden, right? Something that's forbidden.
Right.
And you on purpose ate a kol shehu. If you ate a kol shehu by mistake, there's no punishment at all. There's no malchus, there's no carbon, there's nothing.
Right.
But the only time you're going to be chayav malchus is if you ate a kol shehu on purpose, right?
Right.
Yeah.
What made this kol shehu so important that we're going to give you malchus?
Because you wanted to eat something.
Because you did it on
Because
purpose.
also,
on purpose.
Because you did it on purpose.
Right.
You did it on
Right.
purpose, even though it's a kol shehu. You know, goodnik, you're going to get malchus. Because you did it on purpose. You understand?
Yeah.
So the mazid brings you a chiyuv of malchus, even though with the oraisa you didn't really do the job complete, right?
Yeah.
okay.
But by shogeg, if you do it the shogeg, you chayev a carbon. Why? Because the kazayas makes it choshev. Here, it's the kazayas that makes the chashivas. Since you ate a kazayas, even though when you ate it how? The shogeg. The fact that you ate a kazayas is granting the chashivas to the food that was forbidden that you ate. And had you eaten that amount, mezid, you'd be chayev kares. So it's the amount that makes it choshev, and therefore you're going to get, and therefore you have to bring a carbon because you ate the kazayas. So by the kol shehu, it's the mezid that makes you chayev the malchus. Well, by the carbon, it's the amount that makes you chayev the carbon. You got it? That's the
Okay, that's a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the mitzvah in the name of the Rabbeinu Meir. Okay, now both sides. You did a good job. We finished up to the Gemara, to the next Mishnah. Yetz Hashem next Tuesday night. Now, I want you to know that we really have to adjust a little bit because the calendar is moving along. And because the calendar is moving along, there's not a lot of time between the time we get home from shul until we come to the Shiur. And some people have to eat supper in between. So if you don't mind, starting next week for a few weeks, we are going to be learning at 8:30.
8:30?
Starting.
Put that in the newsletter.
We will put it in Yetz Hashem in the newsletter.
8:30, okay.
But starting next week for probably till close to Pesach, we are going to be learning.
But you can change the clock at the end of March.
Yeah, when we change.
That'll be another adjustment.
Another adjustment, right?
Yeah.
That's the nature of the Tuesday night Shiur. It's a very adjustable Shiur. And consequently, we are beginning next week, we're going to be learning at 8:30 p.m. And we'll send it out in the newsletter, which I remind everybody,
The Thursday night will also be changed.
Thursday night is still 8:30, right?
8:30.
Thursday night is still 8:30. Okay, so now it's gonna be both 8:30.
Right, very
Yeah.
good.
Easier to remember.
Yes.
Rabbi, thanks for reminding me.
Oh, it's
And
my
the Daf Yomi is still 7 o'clock.
Daf Yomi still 7. I think
When is it gonna Daf Yomi start 6 o'clock so we can have a 7 o'clock minute?
I'll get you. I can give you a link to a 6 o'clock Daf.
No, but I need a 7 o'clock davening, not the 6 o'clock Daf.
I can give you a 5 o'clock Daf, and then you can make a 6 o'clock davening.
Yeah. Davening and a Daf.
In Beth-El.
I can't win. Okay. Now,
Okay,
both
so
sides.
thank you so much.
Now, both sides, I just think about the following. We're going to mention it already. Purim this year is on a Friday.
Yep.
We're going to adjust the Daf Yomi that day too. It's going to be a little earlier.
I figured
Yeah, well, that
it'll be
Thursday
early,
night.
right?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
tough day. You got to
Tough
get
day.
a lot done that day.
Yeah, so that Thursday night, you're gonna read the Megillah, no?
Yeah.
Oh, you got Thursday
Yeah.
Pashas?
No.
Yeah. And
You got
and
Pasha the Thursday night?
what?
We got a Pasha
Purim is on a Friday.
No, it's
But
going to be impossible.
Thursday night, it's Purim.
Yeah.
We got
You're not gonna have the Parsha
No, you're not going to Pasha. You can't have Pasha.
We'll see what we'll do about the Pasha that week. We are going.
Unless you move it to
Maybe you could do
Wednesday
it,
for
Rabbi,
one
maybe you
day.
could do it on
That's a good
Wednesday.
idea. Wednesday night. That's a good idea.
Isn't it
For
great?
that one time.
You guys are so terrific. Baruch Hashem. Good.
We have to all, what
Making
does
the
the
rabbi work
Rebbe
harder.
say? What does the Rebbe say?
I say it's great that you all want to learn. My pleasure.
Okay.
Okay, Mitzvah Hashem. We're also going to have a shiur sometime the week before on Hilchis Purim because this year is a wild Hilchis
Yeah,
Purim.
right.
Okay, so Mitzvah Hashem.
Especially in Israel.
Yeah, well, that's true. It's a Purim.
3 days. 3 days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
have a wonderful night, everybody.
Take
Okay,
care,
sure.
Rabbi. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Yashkoyach, Rabbi.
Rebbe, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Atzlocha, Rabbi.
Have a great night, everybody. So
Have a good night.
take care.
Bye.
See you tomorrow at the Daf.
Oh, man.
Bye, everybody.
Okay, bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
good enough.